Imagine you're driving to work. The road ahead hugs a sheer black cliff that drops straight into the Indian Ocean. A cyclone warning flashed on your phone an hour ago. Above you, tons of volcanic rock, unstable, ancient, ready to fall. Below you, nothing but churning water. This isn't a thriller, this is the morning commute for over 200,000 people on a tiny French island in the middle of nowhere. And the road they drive every single day has already killed people. Meet Réunion Island. It's a French overseas territory that's about the size of Luxembourg, sitting 800 kilometers east of Madagascar, right in the heart of one of the most cyclone-prone ocean basins on the planet. It's also one of the most geologically violent places on Earth. The island is a volcano, Piton de la Fournaise, one of the most active volcanoes in the world. It sits at the island's heart, and it erupts almost every year. Now, connecting the island's two main population centers, Saint-Denis in the north and St. Paul in the south, is a road called the Route du Littoral. Built in the 1970s, it runs for 12 kilometers along the base of cliffs that rise almost vertically from the ocean. The problem? Those cliffs are constantly crumbling. When a cyclone hits, the road floods. When it rains, which it does violently and often, rock falls. The road has been closed hundreds of times. In 2018, 2 people were killed when a massive rock collapse struck vehicles. Sections have been shut for weeks at a time. This isn't just inconvenient. This road is the main artery of the island. Close it and the island effectively splits in two. 200,000 daily trips grind to a halt. That emergency vehicles can't get through. Commerce stops. So engineers had a choice. Keep patching a road that was always going to be dangerous, or build something entirely new. They chose the impossible option. The plan was called La Nouvelle Route du Littoral, the new coastal road. Instead of clinging to the cliff face, the new route would run partly offshore on a structure built directly into the ocean. The design has 2 main elements. First, a 5.4-kilometer viaduct, a bridge built on giant concrete piles driven into the seabed. That's France's longest bridge, full stop, not just in Réunion, in all of France. The columns stand in up to 40 meters of open ocean water exposed to Atlantic-strength swells. Second, sea dikes, massive rock embankments filling in sections of the route where water depth allowed. Think of it like a raised causeway, but built with millions of tons of volcanic rock, engineered to withstand waves that can reach 10 meters high during cyclones. Together, they'd form a new 12-kilometer corridor, completely removed from the cliff hazard zone. Now, if that sounds hard to build, you have no idea. Remember where we are. Réunion Island, middle of the Indian Ocean, the nearest major port with the equipment you'd need for a project like this, thousands of kilometers away. Every crane, every specialty ship, every concrete form, every expert engineer had to be transported to one of the most remote inhabited islands on the planet. The construction team had to build a temporary port just to receive equipment deliveries. And then the ocean had a say. Work windows on the exposed ocean side were sometimes just a few hours long between swells. Divers working on the seabed foundations had to be pulled up the moment conditions shifted. Construction was seasonal, stop-start, and grueling, but they did it. The viaduct, 5.4 kilometers of bridge in the open Indian Ocean, was completed. Using GPS-guided positioning systems, prefabricated concrete deck sections lifted into place by specialized floating cranes, and engineering tolerances measured in millimeters. It's genuinely one of the most remarkable construction achievements of the last 2 decades, and almost nobody outside Réunion has heard of it. So far, so impressive. But this is where the story gets dark. The dikes needed rock, an enormous amount of rock. We're talking tens of millions of tons of basalt, the dense volcanic stone that makes up Réunion's interior. To build sea embankments capable of surviving cyclones, you need rock of a specific size, specific density, and in specific quantities that strain belief. The original plan: open new quarries on the island to supply the material. And that's where everything started to fall apart. Réunion is not just a volcanic rock. It is also home to an extraordinary natural environment. Deep gorges, endemic species, and landscapes so striking that large parts of the island are UNESCO World Heritage listed. The local population had serious concerns about ripping open new quarries. Environmental groups pushed back hard. Legal challenges stacked up. The quarry plans were blocked. Engineers pivoted. What if they collected loose volcanic rocks from farmland? Cleared agricultural land for free, got the rock. Win-win. They tried. It wasn't even close to enough. You cannot source tens of millions of tons of rock from farm clearance on a 2,500 square kilometer island. They looked at importing rock from other islands. Madness. The logistics alone would add staggering costs and years to the schedule. Meanwhile, the project's price tag, originally estimated at around 1.6 billion euros, was climbing fast. Then came the second blow. Design errors were discovered. The original calculations for the dike sections had underestimated the amount of material required, significantly, not by a little. The revised numbers were so different that large sections of the dike design had to be fundamentally rethought. Let that sink in. A project of this scale, with this many engineers involved, with billions of euros on the line, and the material estimates were wrong. The delays compounded. The cost estimates kept climbing. By recent projections, the total bill for the project has now passed 2 billion euros for a road on an island of under 1 million people, years behind schedule, billions over budget, sections still incomplete, and the dangerous old cliff road still carrying 200,000 trips a day while the new one sits unfinished alongside it. The question became, how do you finish this? The answer, engineers eventually concluded, was to stop trying to build the dikes at all and extend the viaduct. If you can't get the rock, and if the rock estimates were wrong anyway, and if environmental opposition isn't going away, build more bridge. The remaining sections that were planned as rock dikes will now likely be completed as additional viaduct spans. More concrete, more ocean piles, more prefabricated deck sections floated out by crane ships. It costs more, significantly more, but it resolves the rock supply problem entirely. And crucially, a viaduct in the open ocean is arguably more resilient to cyclone conditions than a dike anyway. Water can pass beneath the bridge deck. A dike has to hold against waves. The physics are different. Current estimates put full completion somewhere around 2030. That's over 15 years after the project officially began. For comparison, the Golden Gate Bridge took 4 years, the Channel Tunnel, 6, the Millau Viaduct, France's tallest bridge, about 3 years of actual construction. The Nouvelle Route du Littoral will have taken the better part of 2 decades, cost over 2 billion euros, and required a complete mid-project redesign. And yet, when you fly over Réunion Island and you see that viaduct, France's longest bridge rising out of the Indian Ocean on 40-meter concrete columns, it's genuinely hard to believe human beings built it. It was built in one of the world's most isolated environments, in an ocean that doesn't forgive mistakes, on a timeline dictated by cyclone seasons and 10-meter swells, with equipment that had to be shipped from the other side of the planet. The Nouvelle Route du Littoral is what happens when engineering ambition meets the hard reality of the world. Environmental limits, material constraints, political opposition, and the humbling unpredictability of building anything in a natural environment. It's a story about what we get right and what we get catastrophically wrong, but it's also a story about what we keep going with anyway, because that dangerous cliff road is still there, and those 200,000 people still need somewhere safer to drive. Some problems are too important to give up on, no matter what they cost. If you're the kind of person who finds a half-finished bridge in the Indian Ocean more interesting than most things on the internet, you're exactly who this channel is for. Hit subscribe. I cover engineering stories, natural mysteries, and the places where human ambition meets the edge of what's possible. Drop a comment. What do you think is the biggest engineering mistake in this project? The quarry planning? The material estimates? Or was the whole concept too ambitious from the start? I'm genuinely curious what you think. And if you want another one right now, I put a link up here to a video about Saudi Arabia's secret pipeline bypassing global oil crisis. I think you'll like it.